Nellie is on vacation, as I understand it, so I'm subbing for her today. I think she'll be back next week. So this morning or this week's theme is karma. And it's not a subject that I have thought a lot about. But after hearing the talks on Sunday and Monday, Linda and Nellie, I felt, hey, I wanted to think a little bit more about this. Sort of sparked my interest. So before the Buddha's time, karma, as we've heard, had to do only with one's actions, the acts one did and performed. And specifically, the rituals of the Brahmin priests that they performed had to be done precisely in order to maintain what they called the Dharma, or the world order. So I don't know much about Brahmin rituals, but I have read about the pagan rituals in ancient Greece. And the gods didn't demand devotion so much as correct action. So correct action in performing the rituals. So similar in that respect. And offerings to gods had to be done with precision, depending on the god. For example, the god had to be named correctly. The type of offering had to match the god's gender, had to match the god's sphere of influence. Was it agriculture? Was it the ocean? And so on. And it had to match the god's temperament. Was it a generally kind of crazy god or a mild-mannered god, and so on. Athena, for example, would accept olive oil and woven fabrics as offerings. So each of the ritual acts needed to be correct, or the ritual had to be restarted, or if carried through incorrectly, the god might be angered or offended. And it didn't matter what was in the hearts of the priests performing the ritual or those who wanted the offering performed. What mattered were the precision of the actions. And I can think of modern examples. I remember when I was a child, attending Mass on Sundays was required. What mattered was that you were there, even if your heart wasn't in it. And we all have the feeling that if I just do the right thing, do something in the right way, like filling out your tax forms in a careful and honest way, then, everything is going to be all right. And usually it is, but that's no guarantee that you won't receive a notice of audit from the IRS. But the Buddha turned this idea of karma around. What mattered was not the precision in rituals or actions, even if they were morally praiseworthy, but what was in your heart. What were your intentions? And I don't think I ever really understood what was meant by intentions. Most of the time, in my experience, act without really being conscious of my intentions. They were hard to pin down. And how did they matter? Who else might be aware of my intentions? How would you keep score of someone's hidden intentions? But the way Linda described karma as a force, or maybe a feeling that continues or maybe stops, asking the question, what is moving forward here? What is set in motion here? That put things in greater perspective for me. First, as she explained, no one is keeping score, and there's no linear causation from one action to something else. Usually, when I reflect on my recent past, like earlier in the day, I think of the tasks I have completed. If it keeps things under control, helps the organization or a family or myself continue and progress, that's a good thing. Good karma, right? But then I thought of it this way. What if I worked on the yard and got the weeds pulled and the trash put away, things watered, but if in my heart I was feeling stressed, needing to control things, a kind of harsh tone in my mental experience while doing the yard work? That is what might carry forward in so many ways. Yeah, yes, if I had the yard in order, that might be a good thing. But if when I finished the job, I felt resentful or stressed or this grim need to control things, I might make a harsh, unhelpful comment to a family member or a friend. Or that harsh feeling might continue every time I worked in the yard, accumulate a kind of bitterness over time, which would have an unwholesome effect on my own mental makeup or on those around me, maybe even becoming a more powerful force or feeling than just getting the yard in order. As Linda said earlier, we are not proposing to think of karma as a moral accounting or that it works in some linear fashion. It's simply a condition that is created and takes its place among the complex array of conditions that you experience at any one moment. But I can see how a wholesome or unwholesome force or feeling might be created by any situation, something that is set in motion, which might accumulate or die out, and if it does continue, becomes a factor among the ongoing conditions you experience. So even though getting the action done, getting the task done correctly, or maybe not, may have some effects downstream, the mindset, the intention you have in carrying out may matter more in terms of the effects on your own personality or on the social atmosphere around you. Anyway, those were some of my current thinking about karma, and I proposed them. What do you think? Do you think I'm off base? What comments would you make? So I'm going to stop there. Thanks for listening this morning.